Hello everyone, AdrenaLuke here. Welcome all to episode 2 of Spin the Wheel. The first thing I want to say right off the bat is thank you guys so much for all your amazing support on episode 1 of Spin the Wheel. And with me thanking you guys that have watched the first episode, you guys already know the deal. You guys already know what this series is all about. However, if this is the first episode that you're watching in this series, and this is where you're getting introduced to it, I'm gonna right now explain to you guys, those new viewers, what this series is all about. Now, in episode 1, I explained the details of what Spin the Wheel is. Detail. So if you want a very deep explanation of what this series is all about, you can click off this video right now, go click on episode 1, and you can listen to me explain everything about it. However, on episode 2 here, I already explained it in great detail once, so I'm just going to keep the explanation short and sweet and just explain the bread and butter of what Spin the Wheel is all about this time around. So for the new viewers, Spin the Wheel is a series that I had the idea of where I have a Spin the Wheel kind of random picker app on my phone, and it's kind of like those wheels that they spin on a game show where it can randomly land on a prize that people win on a game show. It's very similar to that, except it's a random picker app on my phone. And what I use it for in this Spin the Wheel series is I use it to randomly select a track and then randomly select a vehicle category. And it makes for some very interesting combinations. And we don't know what is going to land on. It's completely random, and that's what makes this so fun, and that's what makes it so unique. So if this is your introduction to this series, welcome aboard the hype train. You just found the best sim racing series on YouTube. Now, I had so much fun filming the footage for both these episodes so far, and I'm so of where this series is going. It's been such phenomenal, just so fun so far, but I'm not the only one that's thought that. I've received a lot of positive feedback from everyone else in the lobbies telling me how good of a time that they're having, and so I'm just so happy to see how much this is bringing the community together. And guys, this is spicing up your sim racing. This is allowing us to enjoy content in Gran Turismo 7 that we probably otherwise would have ignored, because we're not manually picking the track and the vehicle category. And that's the beauty of randomly selecting it. It is so interesting. And so with that being said, that's the bread and butter of what this series is all about. Now, the only other thing I want to mention, well, I guess two other things that I probably should mention now that I think of it. One, with you thinking about spinning and getting these random selections here, if there is a scenario where the same track is selected twice in a row, how we're going to handle that is that we make it a different weather and different time of day. We can make it nighttime instead of day, we can make it rain instead of clear weather. So if it lands on the same track, up a little bit and keep it a little bit different from last episode. Now, on the very rare occasion that it will land 3 episodes in a row on the same track or in the same vehicle category, 3 different episodes in a row, that is the only time that constitutes me re-spinning the wheel. No other circumstances am I ever going to do a re-spin. So even if I don't really like the combination that it lands on, I always say the wheel has spoken, and that's that. Okay? So that's a short and sweet explanation of what this series is all about. Now, I captured some amazing races today, and I'm going to show you guys those races. But before I get to that, I'm going to go ahead and just real quick show on the screen the lobby settings for today's races. Hey guys, so I wanted to recreate here the settings that I had for the lobby of the races that you're about to watch. Now, I spin the wheel at the end of each episode to reveal what you can expect for the next episode. So, if you watch at the end of episode 1, that's when I spun the wheel to reveal for this episode that it's Tokyo Expressway Central Clockwise and go-karts. Now, at the end of this episode, don't click away after the races are over, because you want to stay tuned, because I'm going to spin the wheel at the end of this episode to reveal what's coming up next for episode 3. And that's how it's going to be for every episode. I always spin the wheel at the very end and the conclusion of the video, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to show you guys the settings here. So it was 16 max participants, like I said, Tokyo Expressway, central clockwise, just 3 laps, that's the weather. Now, the most important setting that I want to discuss with you guys is the grid order. My interpretation of this is that I thought, when it says slowest first, I really thought that that means that you're in, rather than any. I did not have any qualifying laps set in this lobby. People can set it, or at least I know in Gran Turismo Sport, you could set it to where there are actual legit qualifying sessions before the race starts. And I wanted to keep the series of Spin the Wheel very casual, so I don't want any qualifying to happen. And so I thought that if I set it to slowest first, it would still be pretty much random, because we're all in go-karts and there's no tuning, so all our vehicles are the same performance. So I really assumed that it would be just basic, I assumed that it would basically just be a random grid order. But it was brought to my attention after about, I think, 3 or 4 races, that it actually is taking the lap times of people that are in free practice. That's what the lobby labels it. It says free practice and session, or something along those lines, and tells you can enter the track at any time. That's in between the races. Free practice is taking into account the lap times of people that are participating in that practice, and it's taking those lap times and treating it as if they're qualifying lap times. That doesn't really make sense to me. So I assumed this whole time that it was a random grid order, but after people brought that to my attention, I had to change it. Now, you can see that it only allows you to do fastest first or slowest first. So there's no setting here that you can make to where it just says a random grid order and that there's no qualifying session, because technically you're forced to do a qualifying session then, because even though it says free practice, if you want to start near the beginning, you you have to practice, and that's very bizarre. That's very weird. But I changed it to fast, or it could have even been the 5th, but yeah, I changed it to fastest first after a while, and it was a grid start with a false start check. There's slipstream strength real, no boost, visual damage on, but no mechanical damage, none of that. You can read all that. I'm not going to label everything, or I'm not going to read everything out loud to you guys. Yep. It was go-karts on, so that's pretty self-explanatory for the vehicle regulations. Here are the penalties that you guys can see on the screen there. And here are the assist options they have. I only prohibit the assists that are the ones that basically make the game drive for you. I allow traction control and ABS, so that stuff doesn't bother me, but counter steering assist and active stability management, if you have to have that stuff on, you're not even playing the game. The game's driving for you. So those are the rules that I have set. And the only other thing that I want to mention, guys, I don't want to rant about this too much, and I don't want to go on a huge rant, but Is that the lobbies are once again broken in update 1.18, and it was really annoying to keep recreating the lobby over and over again for people to join. But that did give me the excuse to change a setting of the grid order to fastest first. Now, I know I ranted quite a bit there, but I've talked enough and I've ranted enough. Let's get to racing. It was really, really, really fun to have these go-kart races. I will see you all on the track. All right, let's head into the first race of the day in the go-karts. Things are about to get crazy. Now I'm starting in the back of the pack in P8, and I have a false start checker on, which means if you do a false start, it penalizes you by holding you in place while everyone else starts. So watch this. 2 people in front of me do false starts, so they're going to be held in place. I managed to weave my way past Andy, but I get knocked into Arnold right in front of me. Absolute chaos unfolds right off the bat, right at the start of the race. Wow. I think we need to see a replay of that, guys. Let's show a replay. Watch me back there in P8. Weave past Andy, get knocked into Arnold. Lots of chaos right there. What a way to start the race. So yeah, that was my first taste of the day in these go-kart races. A very chaotic start, I must say. It allowed me to gain 2 easy positions though, and you're seeing right here I'm gaining 1 more position in P5 now, although the rest of the pack is way ahead of me because they were not involved in that very chaotic start that I was involved in, unfortunately. Now P6 is very close behind me, within about 1 or 2 tenths behind me, but everyone else is 2 seconds ahead of me now. So I have to drive very defensively. And I'm going to have to take a lot of these turns with a lot of lift off the throttle, a lot more than I normally would. And that's going to make it harder to catch up to the rest of the pack. So right here, you see we're almost going side by side, so I can't take this turn exactly how I normally would because I have to give room to the person that's to the side of me. And so I'm having to sacrifice a lot of throttle there to stay side by side. So the track becomes more narrow when you have to give room to the person next to you. Now, this turn coming up here, I nickname it the Wall of Death, and you're about to see exactly why. Watch behind me on the top right of the screen. Top right of the screen, look at that. Look at the carnage that unfolded right behind me. I'm going to give you guys their perspective so you can watch from their eyes what happened at that Wall of Death. Following P6 behind me, what he's about to do up here is not very common at all and it's quite bizarre. He's going to clip the inside wall of this turn right here, and he's going to be so angry about what just happened that he rage quits the whole race. Following the guy that was behind the rage quitter, this is a lot more common, and this is why I call it the Wall of Death. Boom! Right there. You see that? It catches you off guard because you have to lift way more in that turn in a track that you hardly have to lift off the throttle at all. Not to mention I have wall contact penalties turned on, so it is catastrophic to your race to slam into the Wall of Death. And if you have a look at the scoreboard on the left of the screen, look at the gap between me and the people that had contact with that Wall of Death. I'm 2.5 seconds ahead of them. That should give you an idea of just how much that hurts you in this race when you make contact with that wall. That's why I call it the Wall of Death. But look ahead of me though. I was way behind the top 4. I mentioned that in lap 1. Look at how close I'm getting to them now. About 3/10 approximately. However, most of this track, you're staying wide open throttle. You're taking almost every single corner flat out. You never touch your brakes in this race unless if you have an emergency. You really only lift off the throttle partially on most of the turns. So right here, I'm going to lift off just a tad. And I learned later on in the day, you almost don't even have to lift at all in that corner. Right here, Brigsby goes wide. P4 nicks the wall a little bit. That gives me an opportunity to slip right past him. And now I have a fighting chance to go for a top 3 finish. You see both P3 and P2 are locked into my sights right ahead of me. We're inching our way closer to the wall of death. Once again, right here, watch this. All 3 of them enter the wall, a near miss, and I rear end P3 right ahead of me. That was a lot of action. Let's see a replay of that. Right here, watch this. All 3 of them into the wall. A very close call there. I avoided contact there, but P2 slowed down from hitting the wall, and it makes me rear end him. So I didn't manage to avoid all contact there, but it doesn't matter because since all 3 of them hit the wall, that's a lot of time penalties passed around there, since if you remember I said I have wall contact penalties turned on, and that's looking really good for me now as I'm getting really close to Brigsby ahead of me here, and he also has a time penalty, and he's in P2. We're having a little bit of a drag race down the straight here, and I pulled a second place right ahead of him, and he has a time penalty, so he's not going to be able to catch right back up to me, and we're in the final lap. Scott is over 6 seconds ahead of me, so right now all I got to do is just focus on defending P2, as there's no possible way I'm going to take the lead from Scott at this point. Look at the top right of the screen. You see how close behind me Brigsby is? Not anymore, as he had to serve his time penalty, and he is gone, and he is way behind me now, and my only goal, like I said, is just to bring second place home. I don't lift as much on the throttle there as last time. I'm starting to learn this track more and more as I go around it. I didn't really have much practice going into this lobby, as this is just a really casual race, and it's just a way to have fun, and that it was. These races are really, really fun. I'm entering into the wall of death again. Am I going to be able to clear it this time? Let's find out. And it looks like I cleared it just fine. I didn't make contact with the wall of death any in the first race of the day. I was being very cautious, and I managed to take home second place in the first race. Very fun race. Lots of action, especially at the very start of it, how chaotic it got. Wow, guys. These races were just chaos, but also just really, really great fun. I definitely want to take the time to say congratulations to Scott for finishing over 6 seconds ahead of me and taking home the victory on the first race of the day here. Phenomenal job. Very well done, Scott. So that was a very fun race, but now it's time to move on to race number 2. Now, if you remember as I explained when I showed the settings of the lobby before I showed the footage of these races, I explained how I had no idea that it takes the times of people's practice laps and uses it as a qualifying lap. And I didn't do any practice laps, so as you see, it has me sitting in pole position here. So I didn't think it would do that, and I wasn't doing that on purpose, so I want to throw that out there so you guys don't accuse me of, you know, trying to rig the lobbies here. But that's just what it is. So I am in the lead starting off the race. Look at who's in P2 right behind me. Scott. And Scott is very fast, if you remember from last race, as he was 6 seconds ahead of everybody. So that makes me kind of nervous to have him right behind me. And his only hope to catch up to me right now is to get a slipstream, as it looks like he's doing just that right behind me on this straight. And he's pulling to the side of me, and he already takes the lead. I'm trying to get a slipstream right away past him, but he gains so much speed that I don't have much time to pick up much of a slipstream boost before he pulls away from me. And not much happens for a while after that, so I'm going to fast forward through most of this lap until the action resumes right here. So if you watched the first race, you remember I nicknamed this wall that we're coming up to the Wall of Death. Watch this. Boom! Scott makes contact. I barely nicked the wall, but that allows me to go right past Scott, and he's picked up a time penalty of 1.5 seconds. That is exactly why I nicknamed that wall the Wall of Death. Nearing the end of lap 2 now, It seems there is a new challenger approaching. TCR Scotchel is gaining on me like crazy. He's going back and forth between 2 and 3 tenths behind me. We're leading into the straight. The last thing I want is for him to get a slipstream right behind me. That's exactly what is happening as he's gaining on me slowly, ever so slightly. And with him gaining on me, I'm feeling the pressure as the battle is about to get real. Coming into the straight here, he's getting a slipstream behind me, pulling to the side of me, and now it's a drag race down the straight. And we're pulling into this corner here. I have to give him room, so I'm using less throttle than I would so I don't go wide. Now listen carefully up here. He's going to go for an overtake around the outside. Did you guys hear that? He nicked the wall. And that contact he just made on the wall is going to help me tremendously as I'm already 1.1 seconds in the lead. Now it's grown to 1.5 seconds. And before you know it, I'm already 2 whole seconds in the lead. And I stay far in the lead for a while and not much happens outside of that. So I'm going to resume normal speed right when the action resumes, right up here. Now, since I said it would resume normal pace of the video once action happens again, if you recognize the sight of where we are right now, this is not a good time for action to happen for me right now. Boom! Look at that. I myself have just become a victim to the wall of death for the first time today. Picking up a time penalty as I'm about to cross the finish line. That time penalty is making me nervous. Am I still going to be in first place after that time penalty is added to my total time? Let's see this. P2 is only 3.5 seconds behind me as I had a 2-second time penalty. It cut it a little bit close, but I still took the victory home. And that was another very fun race. Oh, loss of action again. I can't just say enough how fun these races are on the go-karts on this track, guys. It is a phenomenal time. What a blast. Let's get on to race number 3. As we're starting race 3 here, look at the starting grid. Once again, it is me and Scott on the first row. It's time for a rematch. Let's do this. And I had a little bit of a late start there. Asleep at the wheel a little bit much. Slow reaction time. And that's making me kind of nervous knowing that Scott is one of the fastest drivers in here. Let's see if I can even manage to keep the lead for a long time at all. Right now, we got about a 0.6 of a second gap between me and Scott, but that time gap's about to close very rapidly as it's now to 0.5. And now, down to 0.4. Now, down to 0.3. Down to 0.2. Now he's pulling to the side of me. And he takes the lead right off the bat, not very far into the first lap. Way to go, Scott. Well done once again. And I tried to pick up a slipstream behind Scott, but I wasn't close enough to pick up a strong enough boost of a slipstream, and he pulls away very quickly. And coincidentally enough right here, all of us use the golden mushroom at the same exact time, and then our go-karts go really fast. And now at this point in the race, we're in lap number 2. Scott is still within eye shot of me, but he's almost a full second ahead of me. However, look at who's behind me right now. TCR Scotchel is within a 1/10 of a second behind me, just like he was last race. Now, is he going to make the same mistake at the same section that he did in the last race? We're about to find out as we're going through the tunnel right here. He's getting a slipstream boost. He's thinking about pulling to the side of me, but he's going back for a little bit more slipstream. And I'm trying to defend as much as I can without swerving to block him, as that would be a dirty move. It looks like we're in a drag race once again now as he's about to pull to the side of me again right here. I have to give him room. I can't go wide here or else I'll cut him off. We're entering into the same section that he nicked the wall last race. Is he going to do it this time? He manages to stay right behind me, and now the pressure is definitely on, because I know that he learned from his mistake last race, and he is sticking around. He's not going anywhere. He's right behind me. Approaching the wall of death. Are either of us going to hit it? No contact is made on the wall of death this time by either of us, and TCR Scotchel means business this time around. He was close to me last race, but he's not nicking any walls this time. And as we are entering into lap number 3, it has been a full lap now of us staying within a tenth of a second from each other. However, watch the top right of the screen during this turn. Scotchel is going to lose traction and he fishtails. That error is the answer that I needed for this close battle that has withstanded over a full lap between me and TCR Scotchel. That error that he made, losing traction and fishtailing, is all it took for me to pull ahead, and now that battle between us is over. And it takes Scotchel quite a long time for him to catch back up to me after that fishtail, so I'm going to fast forward until he does. And he does right up here, as he's 3/10 behind me right here, approaching the wall of death. The last thing I want to do is make contact with that wall, so I slow way down, and I'd be way too cautious. I slowed down too much. He's almost to the side of me. We are practically side by side as the checkered flag is going to wave at that finish line. Who's going to take it home? And I took home the battle between me and Scotchel. However, Scott takes home another victory in first place. Congratulations again, Scott. And also, TCR Scotchel, very fun battles. Me and you have had 2 very, very close, intense battles. 2 races in a row now. So again, congratulations to Scott for taking home the victory. Still a pretty good race for me taking home second place. Let's get on to race number 4. Now, like I mentioned earlier with me being unaware of it taking into consideration your practice laps and treating them like qualifying laps, and I didn't do any laps at all, so technically I'm the slowest first. I didn't really mean for me to start out in P1. Now, take a look on the top right of the screen as the race starts here and see if you notice anything unusual. So did you guys notice it at all? Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there. Let's take a look at that from Scott's perspective and see how the start of this race went on his end. So he's obviously AFK at the start. Now, he did mention to me that he's on call at work during these races, and he might have to go at any moment. Back to my perspective now. I've managed to maintain the lead for quite a while, so I'm going to fast forward now. Resuming normal speed to the video now. Approaching the wall of death and make it through safe without any contact to the wall. As lap number 1 comes to a close, I am still in the lead. Although look at the top of the screen, there's a yellow flag, and it's because...
Wait a minute!
Yeah, if you recognize who that was, that's Scott, still AFK parked at the finish line, or starting line, I guess you should say, since she didn't start the race yet. Now, I know that he told me that he's on call for work and he might have to go at any moment. But what's kind of funny about that is that means that every time that we approach the finish line, for lap 2 now and lap 3 as well, it's going to cause a yellow flag in that same location each time now, to where if you pass someone in that location, you will get a penalty for overtaking and a yellow flag, where overtaking is prohibited. So that's going to make this race a little more interesting. Now, look at P2. He's definitely catching up to me here. He's pulling to the side of me. And it's a drag race. It's really close. He doesn't quite take the lead. I have to give him room though, as we're still side by side through this tunnel. Is he gonna go for the move up here? No, he has to fall back. Very smart on him for not trying to overtake there though. Now he's still close behind me, and he still can pick up a slipstream. I have to be very careful. We are approaching the wall of death. And neither of us make contact with the wall. This guy is a serious contender, and this battle rages on. Now remember, we're entering the yellow flag zone. I feel confident knowing he can't overtake me here. And we're on to the final lap. I only have one more lap to go of defending the lead. All I gotta do is just maintain the lead and take this victory home. Now, he's within 0.3 of a second behind me, so I have to stay on my toes here. He can go for an overtake if he gets close enough. I have to keep looking behind me there, making sure he's not close enough. And you see, I keep looking behind me because I'm feeling very pressured right now as this battle is getting more and more intense, knowing that he's not falling behind whatsoever. In fact, once again, like last lap, he's pulling to the side of me. You see on the radar there, and I look behind me. He was pulling to the side. He's doing it again. He's looking for any chance he can get to overtake me. The first chance he gets, he's going to go for it. Coming into the tunnel, I can't go wide. I have to give him room. I have to sacrifice throttle. He's coming up to the side of me. And watch this. Around the outside, he takes the lead from me. What a brilliant move. That demands a replay. Let's watch this one more time from his perspective. And here we go, coming down the tunnel. I'm going to have to give him room. You see me not going wide there. I'm sticking to the inside. He loses traction, but he regains it. Almost fishtailed out of control there. Around the outside, and he takes the lead. What a good move. Back to my perspective. Approaching the wall of death. Neither of us make contact with the wall. There is only one turn left of the final lap of the race. Do I have any hope to regain the lead? Coming up right behind him. Checkered flag waves, and I lost this time. Although I still came in second place, and that was a brilliant battle. Very nice battle. Very intense. I enjoyed it a lot. That was a very fun race. And it's worth mentioning the section that he overtook me on is very risky to go for a move there. You saw exactly what happened to TCR Scotchell when he tried to overtake me in that section. So that's what makes that move so brilliant, guys. I mean, I would watch that replay again if I were you. Anyways, let's get on to race number 5. Since update 1.18 has essentially re-broken the lobbies when they were already fixed to begin with, I had to restart this lobby and wait for everyone to rejoin again. However, this gave me the opportunity to finally switch the starting grid order to the fastest first, which has me starting off in 3rd place this time. I had a really good launch there with a lightning fast reaction time off the line, and that's allowing me to slip right into the lead almost immediately into the race. Very good start, I can't complain there. Although, if you happen to catch it on the top right of the screen, you'd have to be looking very carefully. There was absolute chaos that unfolded behind me, and since it would be very hard to notice that from the top right of the screen, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys a closer look at how much chaos unfolded behind me and what kind of a tornado I was able to escape from. Following Mahone here, he's going to rear end Prime. He collides with Scott. Pain and suffering on a worldwide scale. All of humanity is at stake. Evacuate the streets. And just when you think it's over, rear-ended again. World War II breaks out. Now let's see the race start from Scott's perspective. Right here, Prime is going to get rear-ended. He gets right up there with Scott. They collide. Look at all this carnage. Have you ever seen so much carnage? Unbelievable. What a chaotic race start. Oh my God, am I lucky to have avoided all that. Wow. The most fascinating part of all of this has got to be Prime's point of view. Watch this. You see him get rear-ended right here, right up next to Scott. They collide, but he's rear-ended a second time, propelled past all the chaos, rear-ended a third time you saw there. Extra speed boost that whole time. Now Brigsby and Spo, if that's how you pronounce his username, Spo, were able to pass him there. So now he's going to turn that right back around with an Uno reverse card, and out of nowhere, he's going to overtake on the straight. Not only him, but then he's also, right up here, going to overtake Brigsby. Not only was he lucky enough to avoid all that chaos, but now he's right up there in second place. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get such amazing luck at one time. I mean, that was a chain of good luck. He avoided all that chaos, and he got rear-ended 3 times, propelling him with a bunch of speed boosts forwards. That was just amazing stuff to witness, and I definitely wanted to share that with you guys. Anyways, back to my perspective here. I'm able to maintain the lead, but Prime, through all that, is right behind me, about 0.6 of a second behind me. Approaching the wall of death. Now things are about to get interesting, guys. Pay close attention. Through the wall of death, we're both gonna make it without any contact, although watch this. Prime is coming up the inside. He's gonna pass me through the inside, but he overshoots, makes contact with the wall. It was a good attempt, but it was a failed attempt. Let's go ahead and roll that replay. Now, instead of switching back to my perspective here, I want to show you guys the perspective of TCR Scotchel at the beginning of lap 2. So Brigsby just hit the wall there. He was able to pass him because of that. Now watch this. P3 is coming up to the right side of Prime, so he's going to try to pass him on the left. He doesn't have enough room, so he nicks the wall that slows him down, but Prime's going to hit the wall as well. And then, when Scotchel passes Prime because of that, he's going to hit the wall himself. And now everyone that he just passed is just going to pass him right back. And of course, you can't have a race in Tokyo without Godzilla rampaging through it. And finally, back to my perspective, I'm using the golden mushroom again, and nobody can catch up to my go-kart because it's just going too fast. And approaching the finish line, checkered flag waves, I take home the first place victory. Probably the most chaos that has unfolded out of any race in this episode thus far. And most of why I won was just because I was lucky enough to avoid all that chaos in the very beginning. But regardless, it was a very, very fun race, like all of them have been so far. Let's get on to the final race in the video. Let's move on to race number 6. So this time around, we had the same issue again with the lobby freezing for everybody after last race, so I had to shut down the lobby, recreate it again to have this last race of the day. It was really annoying to go through that. Anyways, it was set to a fastest first grid order, and I wanted to start from the back, so I didn't even do laps at all, but somehow I'm still starting in 4th place. And P2 had a false start, so I'm going to have to weave around him, and we are off for the final race of the day. So I already overtaken 2 people right off the bat. Now there's only Prime ahead of me. Coming up on this turn up here, watch this. We form an X in our driving lines. We cross, and I take the lead already. What a great start to the race. But look behind me on the top right of the screen. Look at how crowded it gets through this tunnel. Watch what's going on behind me. Look at all that. It's a good thing that I'm in the lead and not having to be in that chaos with it being so crowded in the tunnel behind me. And I'm genuinely shocked at how easily I was able to just slip right up to the lead, right at the very start of the race, starting off in 4th. I wanted to start in the very back of the pack to give you guys a more interesting race to see how far I could work my way up from the very back, and there seems to be a lot more chaos in the back, and so that's why I wanted to do it. So I didn't do any laps before this race, but for whatever reason it seems like not many other people did laps, and I had it set to the fastest first grid order. So I was really hoping that I could start from the back for you guys, but I managed to stay in the lead for a very, very long time. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward here. We're about halfway through the race here. I'm definitely getting the hang of this track by now, and I got so used to being in the lead that my mind started to wander and I wasn't doing much thinking. Here's a live look at what my brain was doing as I'm approaching the wall of death here.
I want you to really concentrate on me.
And with me completely zoned out, like a fool, I smashed myself into the wall of death. But watch the bottom right. Did you see that? Somebody just rear-ended me. You saw that on the radar. But it's going to give me the penalty for the collision.
This is car 15. I'm gonna need backup. I've got a stolen vehicle here.
But this is my car.
Suspect's getting belligerent.
What?
Officer down.
So keep in mind this race would have been perfect for me if I didn't doze off in my head and just completely not pay attention at all. Anyways, let's get a replay from Tiger's perspective. So I'm still in the lead after those collisions, but my time penalty of 3.5 seconds is guaranteeing that I am not going to take this victory home. And at this moment behind me, there's a very intense battle going on between P2 and P3, and I want to show you guys an up-close look at that battle right here. Right here, P2 nicks the wall, but then P3 is going to nick the wall too. P3 has a little bit of traction loss going through the tunnel. He's going to pick up a slipstream behind P2, allowing him to catch right up, right at the end of the tunnel here. That's when he's catching right up to him with a slipstream. Watch way ahead though. You see me up there, and this is when I have to serve my time penalty, so they're both going to fly right past me right here. See how much I slowed down? A 3.5 second time penalty. Look at this though. P2's looking for any chance to overtake him and claim that lead. It's a battle for the victory now on the last race of the day. Look at this. He's trying to go for it up here. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. He has to fall back. P1's going to nick the wall, but then P2 rear ends him, just propelling him right back forwards. Again, he's looking for an opportunity, but he rear ends him again. Lots of chaos here as they're just battling it out. Not much of the race left. They're approaching the wall of death. What's going to happen? It looks like both of them are through the wall of death. Slight bits of contact from both of them, it looks like. P2 is falling behind. The checkered flag is waving. They're on the home stretch. Both positions are secured and locked in. Good battle, guys. And here's me finishing behind them in P3 to end the day. I am so happy with this episode of Spin the Wheel. These races were phenomenal. This is exactly what I was looking for when I had the idea for this series. Now, like I mentioned, I always spin the wheel at the end of each episode. So if you guys stick around to the very end, here's your reward. You guys are going to get to see me spin the wheel now to reveal what track and what category we're going to race on for episode 3. And I will spin the wheel here. And there you have it. The wheel has spoken. Episode 3, we can look forward to a road car race with a PP limit of 720 at one of my favorite tracks. If you want to be included in episode 3, I will have a lobby open to the public at around Wednesday or Thursday next week. If you're not subscribed, please do so, and please leave a like on this video. Race fast, race clean, and I will see you all in the next video.
Game over.